Hey everyone, glad to have you here. If this is your first time, don't forget to subscribe. It helps me bring you more stories like this. Now get comfortable, it's time to dive into the story Zombie Outbreak Aftermath, Pentagon Rescue Mission. The diesel generators at Fort Bragg hum like prayers in the pre-dawn darkness, their vibration traveling through concrete and into my boots. I stand before the tactical display in the command bunker, studying satellite images of the Pentagon that make my stomach clench with dread. The building sits like a concrete island in an ocean of rotting flesh. Tens of thousands of infected surrounding it in layers so thick they look like shadows from this altitude. Captain Sands. Colonel Malevik's voice cuts through the ambient noise. You understand the parameters of this operation? I turn from the display to face him. Malkovich's weathered face shows the strain of 3 weeks commanding what's left of the 82nd Airborne. Dark circles under his eyes, stubble that hasn't seen a razor in days, uniform that smells of smoke and exhaustion. But his gaze remains sharp, calculating. Extraction of General Fox and surviving Pentagon personnel, I reply, though something in his expression suggests there's more to this mission than rescue operations. Estimated 65 souls trapped in the command bunker. Malavik nods slowly, then gestures to the other officers in the room. Clear the room. Captain Sands and I need to discuss classified parameters. The exodus of personnel leaves us alone with the humming generators and the weight of whatever truth Malevik's about to share. He activates a signal jamming device on the table. Standard procedure for compartmentalized briefings. Captain, what I'm about to tell you doesn't leave this room. Malavik begins, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. General Fox has something we need, something that makes this mission worth the risk we're taking. I wait, keeping my expression neutral, despite the knot forming in my chest. Nuclear authorization codes, Malavik continues. P-dated launch sequences for the Eastern Seaboard missile installations. Fox was in the middle of a security rotation when everything went to hell. Those codes are our key to the next phase of operations, retaking major population centers. The weight of his words settles on my shoulders. Like a lead blanket, this isn't about saving 65 trapped souls. This is about nuclear weapons and whatever grand strategy the surviving military leadership has planned. Sir, are you telling me this is a recovery mission, not a rescue? Malevik's silence answers my question more clearly than words could. After a moment, he speaks again. The rescue is secondary, Captain. If we can save those people, we will, but the codes are the primary objective. General Fox knows this. He's been waiting for extraction, but more importantly, he's been protecting those authorization sequences. I study the satellite imagery again, seeing it through new eyes. The infected masses surrounding the Pentagon aren't just obstacles to a rescue mission, they're guardians of humanity's nuclear arsenal, albeit unintentional ones. What's the tactical approach, sir? Malavik activates a holographic display showing the Pentagon's layout. Red dots indicate infected concentrations. Blue markers show structural weak points. Diversionary explosion on the west side, he explains, highlighting a section of the building. We'll use enough C4 to bring down that entire wing. The blast should draw the majority of infected away from your insertion point on the east side. I trace the infiltration route with my finger. Small insertion team while the main force maintains external support. Exactly. You'll take 5 operators inside to guide the survivors out. Your job is to reach the command bunker, secure General Fox and the codes, then extract as many survivors as possible. Meanwhile, a larger support team establishes perimeter control and provides covering fire during extraction. But remember, codes first, people second. The cold lived it before, but it never gets easier when human lives become secondary objectives. Who's on my insertion team, sir? Malavik slides a folder across the table. Inside are photographs and service records for 5 operators I know by reputation. The best Fort Bragg has left after 3 weeks of apocalyptic warfare. Staff Sergeant Green, I read aloud. Demolitions expert. 2 tours in Afghanistan, lost his entire squad at Charlotte, Malavik adds grimly. He's been itching for payback ever since. Sergeant Caval, sniper, Marine Force recon background, best shot we've got. She can put a bullet through a dime at 800 mm. And they get to me. I continue reading. Corporal Burgess, medic, specialist Flanders communications, Private Pinker, automatic weapons, Pachinka is 18. Malavik notes. But he's been through more combat in 3 weeks than most soldiers see in entire deployments. Kid doesn't miss with a saw. The team roster represents everything left of American military excellence. Survivors who've learned to kill infected with precision while watching their country burn around them. And the support team, sir. 12 additional operators under Lieutenant Herring. They'll establish perimeter positions, provide covering fire, and secure extraction vehicles. When you bring the survivors out, Herring's team holds the line while everyone reaches the vehicles. 18 total personnel for this mission, 6 for infiltration, 12 for external support. The largest single operation Fort Bragg has mounted since the outbreak began. Timeline, sir. You move out in 2 hours. We need to coordinate the diversionary blast with optimal infected positioning. Our drone surveillance shows they're densest on the western perimeter, probably drawn by some stimulus we can't identify. Malavik activates another display, showing infected movement patterns around the Pentagon. The creatures flow like water, clustering wine in a response to sound, scent, or movement before dispersing again into random wandering. The blast will be visible for miles, he continues. Every infected in Arlington will converge on that location. That gives you maybe 30 minutes of reduced presence on the eastern approach before they start dispersing again. 30 minutes to infiltrate a 5-story fortress, navigate to a buried command bunker, convince 65 terrified people to abandon their sanctuary, and execute an extraction under combat conditions. The timeline feels impossibly tight. What about exfiltration routes, sir? Primary extraction point is the eastern parking structure. Rodriguez's team will have vehicles standing by, but they won't wait indefinitely. If you're not at the extraction point within 90 minutes of initial insertion, you're on your own. The unspoken implication hangs between us. This is likely a one-way mission for some of us, maybe all of us. Sir, what's the current status of General Fox's group? Last communication. Malavik's expression grows heavier. 48 hours ago, they reported food and water running low, blast doors showing stress fractures from constant pressure. Fox sounded resigned. Resigned. After 3 weeks of holding the Pentagon against impossible odds, facing the reality that help might never come, but Fox has kept those nuclear codes secure, maintained military discipline even as his fortress fell around him. Any intelligence on internal conditions, infected presence inside the building? Unknown. Last reports indicated complete perimeter compromise, but the command bunker was sealed. Fox could be sitting in a tomb filled with infected, or he could have clear corridors. We won't know until you're inside. I close the mission folder and look at Malkovich. If we recover the codes but lose General Fox, is that considered mission success? Malavik meets my gaze without flinching. Yes, Captain. The codes alone justify this operation. General Fox understands that. The brutal mathematics of survival. Nuclear authorization codes represent the power to reclaim American cities, to establish safe zones protected by the ultimate deterrent. 65 lives, even including a general officer, don't weigh against that strategic advantage. I'll brief my team, sir. We'll be ready in 90 minutes. Captain, Malavik calls as I reach the door. Bring them home if you can, all of them, but remember what matters most. I nod and step into the corridor where both teams wait in the fluorescent lighting that never seems bright enough anymore. These 17 operators represent everything left of American Special Forces capability in the southeastern United States. Insertion Team Staff Sergeant Green leans against the wall, methodically checking the detonation device that will bring down a section of the Pentagon. His hands move with the precision of someone who's blown up everything from bridges to buildings, but his eyes hold the hollow look of a man who's seen too many friends die. Sergeant Cavall sits cross-legged on the floor field, stripping her sniper rifle with meditative focus. Every movement is economical, practiced. She's killed more infected than anyone keeps count of, but she still treats her weapon with the reverence it deserves. Corporal Burgess sorts through medical supplies, trauma bandages, morphine, antibiotics, everything needed to keep people alive long enough to reach proper medical care. But we all know that in 3 weeks, proper medical care has become a relative concept. Specialist Flanders adjusts frequency settings on our communication equipment. Clear channels are precious in a world where most radio towers have gone silent. His job is keeping us connected to extraction support and each other. Private Pachinka, barely old enough to drink legally if there were still bars to drink in, loads belt ammunition for his squad automatic weapon. The kid has the thousand-y stare of someone who's seen the apocalypse up close, but his trigger discipline remains flawless. Support Team Lieutenant Herring briefs his 12 operators on perimeter positions and extraction protocols. These soldiers will establish the defensive line that keeps our escape route open when we bring 65 civilians out of hell. Listen up. I address both teams. Mission briefing in 5 minutes. This is a priority. 1 extraction with combat conditions expected throughout. We're going into the Pentagon. The silence that follows tells me everything about how they view this mission's chances of success. Pachinka looks up from his ammunition. Captain, are we talking about the Pentagon? The one that's been on every news feed for 3 weeks, surrounded by every infected in the D.C. metro area. That's the one, Pachinka. Cavall doesn't look up from her rifle. How many? Current estimates suggest 50,000 infected within a half-mile radius of the target building. Green whistles low. Not an extraction, Captain. That's assisted termination. Herring checks his tactical map. Sir, what's our primary objective? Standard rescue protocols don't apply to those numbers. I look at each of them in turn. These soldiers have followed me through missions that seemed impossible, but this one pushes beyond anything we've attempted. Priority 1. Secure classified materials from General Fox. Priority 2. Extract surviving personnel if possible. We're not going in blind, there's a plan. Burgess seals his medical kit with practiced efficiency. What kind of plan gets 18 people through 50,000 infected? I activate the tactical display, showing them the Pentagon's layout and our proposed approach route. Diversionary explosion on the western perimeter draws the majority away from our insertion point. Insertion team goes in fast, light, and quiet. Support team establishes perimeter control and secures extraction vehicles. We reach the command bunker, secure our objectives, and extract before they realize we're there. The teams study the display with professional interest, but I can see the calculations happening behind their eyes. 18 operators against 50,000 infected, even with a diversion, represents odds that no amount of training can overcome. Gil speaks without looking up from her weapon. What's our ammunition allocation, Captain? Standard combat load plus 40%. Suppressed weapons preferred to avoid drawing attention during insertion phase. Pachinka hefts his saw. This isn't exactly suppressed, sir. You're our insurance policy, Pachinka. When stealth fails, and it will, you're what keeps us alive long enough to complete the mission. Green stands and shoulders his demolitions pack. How much C4 am I carrying for the diversion? Enough to bring down the entire western wing. We want every infected in Arlington looking in that direction when we make our approach. Ring looks up from his communication equipment. Sir, what's our fallback if extraction fails? The question I've been dreading. If our extraction point is compromised, if our vehicles can't reach us, if we're cut off inside a building surrounded by 50,000 infected. We complete the primary mission, I reply. No matter what, the weight of those words settles over both teams like morning fog. We're not just risking our lives on this mission. We're accepting that success might require sacrificing them. How long until insertion, Captain? Burgess asks. 90 minutes. Use the time to prep equipment and mentally prepare. This isn't like anything we've done before, but even as I say it, I know that's not entirely true. For 3 weeks, every mission has been unlike anything we've done before. We've adapted to fighting enemies that feel no pain, show no fear, and never retreat. We've learned to kill efficiently while preserving ammunition, to move silently through urban ruins, to make choices that would have been unthinkable a month ago. Green shoulders his pack and heads toward the equipment room. I'll prep the charges. How precise do you want the western demolition? Surgical, I reply. Bring down that wing completely, but don't compromise the eastern approach or the command bunker's structural integrity. Cavill stands and slings her rifle. I'll coordinate with Herring on overwatch positions during extraction. Herring nods. My team will establish 3 defensive lines between the Pentagon and extraction vehicles. When you bring those civilians out, we'll have suppressing fire ready. Flanders gathers his communication gear. I'll establish relay frequencies with base command and coordinate between insertion and support teams. Burgess heads for the medical supplies. I'll pack for combat casualties, lots of them. As both teams disperse to prepare equipment, I return to studying the tactical display. The Pentagon sits at the center of concentric rings of infected like ripples in a pond between the densest concentrations, but margin for error is virtually non-existent. Colonel Malkovich appears beside me. Having second thoughts, Captain? No, sir. Just making sure we haven't missed anything that could improve our odds. There's nothing to improve, Malkovich replies grimly. This mission succeeds through speed, surprise, and the skills of your teams. Everything else is beyond our control. I study the infected distribution patterns one more time. Sir, what intelligence do we have on infected behavior during explosions? Will the Western blast really draw them away from other areas? Unknown. They respond to stimuli, but we're not sure how they prioritize multiple attractions. The explosion should be loud enough and bright enough to override other interests, but we're gambling on instinct rather than proven tactics. Gambling, that's what this entire war has become. Calculated risks based on insufficient intelligence about enemies that follow no human logic. Time to insertion, sir. Malkovich checks his watch. 70 minutes. Your vehicles are being prepped now. Route through Arlington has been cleared by advanced scouts, but that intelligence is already 6 hours old. 6 hours in a world where infected movements can shift completely in minutes. Our carefully planned approach route might be blocked by wandering hordes, forcing improvisation under combat conditions. I rejoin both teams in the equipment room, where they're conducting final preparations with the methodical focus of professionals who know this might be their last mission. The next 70 minutes will determine whether 18 American soldiers can penetrate the most heavily defended location in the infected world, complete an impossible extraction, and live to fight another day. But as I watch my teams prepare, I realize something that Malkovich's briefing didn't address. These soldiers aren't just following orders anymore. They're fighting for something larger than themselves, for the idea that America can be rebuilt, that civilization can be restored, that the war against the infected can be won. The nuclear codes represent power, but the soldiers willing to die for them represent something more precious. Hope. 68 minutes to insertion. Time to see if hope is enough. The rumble of armored vehicles cuts through pre-dawn silence as our convoy navigates Arlington's skeletal remains. Through night vision, abandoned cars create twisted metal mazes, doors hanging open like screaming mouths. Our convoy splits at the final checkpoint. Lieutenant Herring leads his 12-man support team toward perimeter positions around the Pentagon, their vehicles loaded with heavy weapons and ammunition. My insertion team continues toward the eastern approach in a single armored Humvee. Contact 2 Oukoi. Caval reports from the turret. 8 infected, not moving toward us. Former residents wander between overturned vehicles, a woman in bathrobe missing her left arm, elderly man dragging broken leg, teenager with bite marks across skull. Hold fire unless they threaten approach. I command. Green rides beside me with enough C4 to level city blocks. Flanders monitors radio frequencies in back. Burgess sorts medical supplies. Pachinka checks ammunition belts with nervous energy. 2 clicks out, our driver, Corporal Mendez, reports, road conditions better than expected. Through building gaps I glimpse Washington D.C.'s skyline. Smoke rises from dozens of fires. Washington Monument stands pale against orange glow. Everything around it dark. Herring status report. I radio to the support team. Establishing perimeter positions now, comes his reply. Heavy infected concentrations around target, but we're finding good overwatch locations. We'll be in position for covering fire when you bring survivors out. Through optics, I study our target. Pentagon rises like concrete fortress, completely surrounded by infected in concentrations beyond layers, living carpets, stretching everywhere. Jesus, Burgess whispers. 50,000 earned. Our intelligence was catastrophically wrong. This represents every turned resident of DC metro area clustering around single target. Green seeing this, Roger. Adjusting explosive calculations need bigger bang for this many. Infected don't cluster randomly. Something draws them to specific areas. Western side shows heaviest concentration, but eastern approach still crawls with thousands. Eastern approach viable? I asked Caval. Manageable if western blast draws majority away, but we'll fight scattered groups regardless. We reach staging position 6 blocks from Pentagon. Mendez parks in abandoned office buildings, underground garage, while Herring's support team takes positions in surrounding buildings. Flanders. Establish communication with all teams. I order dismounting. Green prep charges. Everyone else final equipment check. Garage smells of motor oil and decomposition. Sweet putrid scent. Green opens demolitions case, revealing enough plastic explosive to bring down skyscrapers. I can give you blast heard in Baltimore. He says every infected in metro area will converge western perimeter. How long until they disperse? Unknown. Could be minutes, hours. These things don't follow crowd psychology. Caval assembles sniper rifle. Burgess checks medical supplies. Flanders establishes communication nets between insertion team, support team, and base command. All teams radio check. Flanders calls out support team Alpha, good copy. Herring responds from his perimeter position. Support team Bravo. Solid signal comes another voice from different building. Base command, reading you, 5x5. Crackles, Fort Bragg's response. Pentagon's outline shows against pre-dawn sky, dark except occasional flashes. Muzzle fire, or electrical fires, 15 minutes to blast. Flanders reports. Herring support teams ready. All positions established, we have clear fields of fire to extraction routes, ready to provide covering fire when you bring survivors out. Green shoulders demolitions pack. Moving to western approach. Once I trigger blast, you have 30 minutes before infected patterns become unpredictable. I gather my insertion team. Once inside, one objective, reach bunker. Secure General Fox and codes. Guide survivors to extraction point where Herring's team will be waiting. What if bunker's compromised? Fox dead? Caval asks. We complete primary mission. Extract whoever we can. Can't tell them about codes being more important than lives. We move to ground level where shattered windows provide Pentagon sightlines. Infected masses create movement carpet, thousands driven by hunger toward living flesh inside. Green status report. In position charges, set maximum attraction. You'll know when I trigger. It'll light up horizon. Through night vision, I watch infected behavior around target. They press walls with mindless persistence, climbing over each other. Some decompose where they stand but keep pushing forward. Herring support teams report ready for extraction phase. Radio crackles. Copy that. We'll hold extraction routes no matter what. 2 minutes to blast. Final weapons check. Suppressed M4 with armor-piercing rounds. Backup pistol. Team conducts identical checks with professional, calm, masking terror. Green, you are cleared hot. Roger, blast in 10 seconds. I watch Pentagon's western perimeter where thousands cluster. 3 to 1 mark. Western wing disappears in orange flame turning night. Roar reaches us seconds later, rattling windows throughout Arlington. Debris rains down as smoke mushrooms skyward. Effect on infected is immediate, dramatic. Thousands move away from other building sections drawn by massive stimulus. Eastern approach begins clearing as create sounds. Yours shamble toward destruction. Move, move, move. We sprint toward Pentagon, using shadows for concealment. Infected ignore our approach, focused entirely on western blast. All section blown Eastern open during previous fighting, partially blocked by concrete barriers but passable. Bodies scatter around entrance. Contact front. Caval whispers. Rifle aimed at 3 infected emerging from entrance. 3 suppressed shots drop them without attracting attention from masses converging westward. Entry secured. Herring. We're inside the building, copy that. Support teams maintaining overwatch on extraction routes. Pentagon's interior corridors are darkness, debris, death's constant stench. Emergency lighting flickers sporadically. Walls show bullet holes, blast damage, dark stains. Electronic signatures from command bunker. I ask Flanders. Negative. Concrete walls could block signals. We move through corridors filled with Pentagon's final battle evidence. Overturned furniture forms desperate barricades. Spent casings litter floors. Bloodstains mark walls where people made last stands. Movement ahead, Paskinka reports. Saw trained on corridor shadows. 2 infected stumble into view. Pentagon security in torn uniforms. Caval drops both with precise headshot. Herring corridor conditions worse than expected. Heavy infected presence inside building. Understood. Support teams ready when you need extraction. Descending toward bunker. Building condition improves. Lower levels show less battle damage. Defenders established positions here before being overrun. Captain, Burgess whispers, pointing to fresh barricades blocking path. Built recently. Someone's alive. Professional barricades interlocking furniture and metal plates with tactical firing ports. Military construction principles. I approach barricade. General Fox. This is Captain Sands. 82nd Airborne. We're here for extraction. Silence, then metallic scraping of weapons being aimed. Identify yourselves, comes hoarse voice. Authorization codes. Operation Lighthouse. Authorization Sierra 7 Alpha. We're here to extract survivors and secure classified materials. More silence, then barriers moving aside. Corridor beyond reveals Pentagon's final days. Bodies everywhere, infected and human defenders, walls scorched, pocked with bullet holes, air tastes of smoke, blood, decomposition. Captain Sands' figure emerges, soldier with Master Sergeant stripes. Face shows exhaustion beyond anything I've seen. Master Sergeant Andrews, General Fox is alive. We've been expecting you. Andrews leads us through fortified corridors toward bunker. Pentagon's lower levels aren't empty. We hear infected in ventilation shafts pressing sealed doors. How many survivors? 65 total, 47 military, 18 civilians. Some wounded, but mobile. Others he trails off. We reach final checkpoint. Massive steel door designed to withstand nuclear attack. Andrews input security code. Door opens with hydraulic silence. Inside I face remnants of American military leadership. General Fox sits behind command desk, converted to medical station, left arm in sling, bandages covering wounds, eyes remain sharp. He stands as we enter. Captain Sands he greets with command authority despite exhaustion. I assume you're here for more than rescue, nuclear codes. He knows our real purpose. Sir, we're here to extract all survivors and secure classified materials. Fox opens reinforced briefcase on desk. Inside, documents, electronic devices, sealed containers, nuclear authorization codes representing power to reclaim cities. These are what Malevich really wants. The rescue is secondary. I meet his gaze. Sir, my orders are to extract both personnel and materials. Good answer. But you need to understand our situation. We have 65 people. Some are wounded but can move, others barely mobile. This won't be easy. Sir, what's our timeline? Fox checks watch. 20 minutes before infected return from Western explosion. After that, this building be Mez death trap. Again, 20 minutes to organize 65 people for evacuation through infected fill corridors to extraction point, where Rodriguez's code secured immediately. Fox secures briefcase, hands it to Flanders. Guard this with your life. It represents our future. As Flanders secures codes, I assess our situation. 65 survivors in various conditions. Some wounded but mobile, others barely standing. Sir, we can move everyone, but it'll be tight. My support team has extraction routes secured. Fox nods. Then we do this right. Everyone who can walk gets ready to move. We're leaving this bunker. Building shutters around us through sealed doors. We hear distant infected movement, thousands returning from Western blast. Herring, we have 65 for extraction, code secured. Moving to your position in 5 minutes. Copy that. All support teams ready. We'll hold extraction routes until everyone's out. Fox addresses survivors. Listen up. We're evacuating to extraction vehicles. Stay together. Follow Captain Sands' team and we all get home. Nuclear code secured. 65 survivors ready for evacuation. Support team holding extraction routes. The real test begins now. Getting everyone out alive. Time's up, Fox announces, checking his watch. Infected are filling corridors above us. We move now or we don't move at all. The building shutters as thousands of infected return from the Western blast. Their moans penetrating concrete walls through sealed ventilation. We hear shuffling footsteps, scraping claws, bodies pressing against barriers. The sound builds like approaching thunder, echoing through steel ducts and concrete passages. Everyone who can walk on your feet. I command the bunker survivors. We're evacuating to street level where Lieutenant Herring's support team has extraction vehicles ready. Chaos erupts as 65 people prepare for desperate flight. Some wounded civilians struggle to stand on unsteady legs. Soldiers help those who can barely move, sharing ammunition and medical supplies, but several critically wounded lie on improvised stretchers, faces pale with pain and blood loss from injuries that would have been treatable in the world we lost. The air in the bunker grows thick with tension and fear. People who've survived 3 weeks in this concrete tomb now face the prospect of leaving their sanctuary for infected-filled corridors. Some weep silently, others pray in whispered voices, a few check weapons with shaking hands. Sir, we can't carry stretchers through combat. Burgess reports grimly, his medical training forcing him to state harsh realities. Moving the critical cases will kill them and they'll slow everyone else down in running firefight. Their wounds are too severe. The mathematics I've been dreading in combat through infected-filled corridors. Stretcher cases become death sentences for everyone. But looking at those wounded faces, I see people who trusted us to save them. Fox looks at the most severely wounded, 12 people who won't survive movement through combat zones. Their injuries range from massive blood loss to broken spines. Moving them would be torture before death. "I'm sorry," Fox tells them quietly, his voice heavy with the weight of command. "We can't take you. You know what that means." Some of the dying nod with understanding. Others close their eyes, accepting fate with military discipline. One elderly woman reaches out to squeeze Fox's hand in forgiveness. Dr. Stone starts to protest, but Fox cuts her off. "Doctor, you're coming with us. We need medical personnel for the others. That's an order." Master Sergeant Andrews opens weapon lockers, distributing rifles and ammunition to mobile survivors. Light load, maximum mobility. We fight our way to ground level where Herring's team provides covering fire to vehicles. Conserve ammunition. We don't know what's waiting between here and street level. The survivors arm themselves with whatever weapons remain. Pistols, rifles, even improvised clubs and knives. Their faces show grim determination mixed with terror. These are people who've learned to kill. Corridors represents exposure they've avoided for weeks. Fox secures Nuclear Code's briefcase, keeping it with him personally. The reinforced case contains documents that could reshape America's military strategy, but also represents the real reason 18 soldiers risked everything to reach this bunker. "This is why Captain Sands really came," Fox announces to survivors, his voice carrying across the bunker. "These authorization codes could change the war's outcome. The rescue mission was secondary to recovering these materials." Murmurs ripple through the group as the truth sinks in. They weren't the priority, the codes were. Some faces show anger at the deception, others nod with understanding. All realize their survival depends on reaching extraction vehicles with those codes intact. Through bunker walls, we hear infected reaching lower levels, scratching at doors, following scent trails that lead directly to our position. The sound of metal straining under pressure tells us the barriers won't hold much longer. "Move out," Fox orders, nuclear code secured against his chest. "Andrews, take point." Everyone stays together. No one breaks formation. Andrews leads 53 mobile survivors toward bunker exit. We're leaving 12 critical cases behind because moving them would kill them and endanger everyone else. Behind us, the dying watch silently as we abandon them to infected that will inevitably breach the bunker. The massive blast door opens with hydraulic hiss, revealing Pentagon corridors that reek of death and decomposition. Emergency lighting flickers like dying candles, casting shifting shadows that could conceal threats anywhere. The corridors stretch ahead like throat of some massive beast. The bunker door seals behind us with finality. Beyond that barrier, 12 wounded souls prepare to meet death with whatever dignity remains. Some have pistols, it's single rounds. Others face their fate unarmed but unafraid. Pentagon corridors crawl with infected. They turn toward sound of our movement. Dozens of creatures in torn military uniforms, business suits, maintenance clothing, former colleagues and co-workers now driven by hunger alone, their humanity stripped away by viral infection. Suppressed fire, I command. Clear the path. My insertion team engages infected, blocking our route while 53 survivors move in protected formation. Caval's rifle cracks rhythmically, each shot dropping creatures with precision headshots. But gunshot sounds carry through corridors, attracting more creatures from connecting passages. The infected don't feel pain or fear. A man with half his face missing continues advancing even after taking body shots that would drop any living human. A security guard whose intestines drag behind him still reaches toward living flesh. "Contact left," Caval calls out, dropping infected emerging from side corridor with precise headshot. "Cont right," Pachinka responds, his saw chattering as creatures pour from another passage. The Pentagon's layout works against us. Multiple corridors provide infected with countless approach routes. We clear one area only to find others filling behind us. Sound of our passage draws them like blood draws sharks. Stairwell ahead, Andrews reports, his voice tight with strain. 3 levels to ground access where Herring's team waits. But the stairwell crawls with infected creatures drawn by noise of our movement, descending from upper floors in steady stream. Some wear torn Pentagon badges, others visitor passes. Bodies lie scattered throughout the stairwell, evidence of previous battles fought by Pentagon defenders. Spent ammunition casings crunch under our boots. Blood stains mark walls where people made final stands against overwhelming odds. Grenades, I order. Clear the stairs. Explosions echo through stairwell as grenades detonate in confined space. Body parts scatter. Walls crack from pressure waves, but blast sound attracts infected around us as thousands converge on our position from every direction. Up the stairs now, Fox shouts, leading evacuation despite his wounded arm. We fight our way up 3 levels of infected-packed stairwell. My team fires constantly while protecting civilians. Every gunshot brings more infected from other areas. During the brutal stairwell fight, the weakest survivors start falling behind. An elderly civilian with heart condition collapses from exhaustion. Before anyone can help, infected pour down from upper levels and overwhelm the position. Keep moving, Fox orders, though his face shows agony at leaving people behind. A government worker with injured legs stumbles and falls 2 flights up. The delay in helping costs precious seconds. Infected catch up to our rear guard, separating him from the group. One of the bunker's medical staff stops to help wounded civilian. Both get surrounded by infected emerging from side passages, their screams cut through gunfire as creatures tear them apart. Ground level, Andrews announces as we reach final landing. We've lost 6 people in the stairwell. 47 survivors remain, but panic is setting in. People are breaking formation, pushing toward exit. Through reinforced doors, daylight streams in between us and freedom-infected pack corridor leading to exit. And outside through the windows we can see the true horror. Waiting. Jesus Christ, Pachinko whispers. They're everywhere. The Pentagon's parking area seethes with infected thousands that weren't drawn to Western Blast, now converging on sound of battle from every direction. Herring, we're at East Exit, but situation is catastrophic. I radio. Thousands between us and vehicles. We're going to take heavy casualties. Copy that, Sands. We're already taking pressure here. Lost Leroy and Comic to infected that flanked our position. Support teams are barely holding extract here. Iron Roots. 2 of Herring's men already dead. The support team is collapsing under pressure. Full automatic, I command, abandoning ammunition conservation. Everyone into the kill zone. We kick open exit doors and chaos erupts. Herring's remaining 10 operators open fire from elevated positions, but there are too many infected. Heavy machine guns cut down dozens, but hundreds more keep coming. 47 survivors sprint across parking area as my insertion team maintains protective formation, but infected attack from every direction and the weak fall first. An elderly man, barely mobile, gets pulled down within sight of vehicles. A young woman gets separated when infected stream between her and the group. We watch them disappear under swarm of creatures. 2 Pentagon workers who'd been hiding in offices break formation and run in panic. Infected catch them in open ground. Vehicles ahead, Flanders shouts, but his voice cracks with strain. 2 armored trucks with engines running. Herring soldiers providing desperate covering fire, but infected swarm around vehicles despite suppressing fire. Covering fire failing, Herring shouts over radio. Lost, Slimy, and Bash can't hold much longer. 4 of his 12 operators now dead. The support team is disintegrating. During final sprint to vehicles, a construction worker helping wounded colleague both get overwhelmed by infected breaking through our formation. 2 government employees almost reach trucks before infected mass sweeps over them. The parking area becomes slaughterhouse. Blood pools on asphalt between abandoned vehicles. Body parts scatter across concrete as infected tear apart anyone who falls behind. The sound of screaming mixes with gunfire and inhuman moans to create symphony of horror. Load everyone you can. Fox shouts, nuclear codes clutched against his chest as infected claw at truck tailgate. His uniform is torn, face steed. With blood and grime, but his eyes remain focused on mission completion. Bodies pile into vehicles as soldiers fire point-blank into desperate people climbing aboard while creatures press against every surface. Windows crack under pressure of infected, trying to reach living flesh inside. Green stands at truck's rear, emptying magazine after magazine to keep creatures away from loading area. Brass casings rain around his boots as he maintains disciplined fire into endless waves of infected. His face shows calm acceptance of what's coming. Green, get in the truck. Too many of them. Captain can't make it. The distance between Green and truck safety might as well be miles. Infected swarm around him in dense mass, reaching with grasping claws and snapping teeth. He continues firing even as creatures tear at his uniform. Burgess jumps from truck to help pull wounded civilian toward vehicle. The distance is maybe 10 feet, but infected grab both of them before they can reach safety. I watch my medic disappear under mass of rotting bodies, his screams mixing with civilians before being cut short by tearing flesh. "We can't save everyone," Fox orders, his command voice cutting through chaos. "Drive now." The decision tears at everything we believe about leaving no one behind. But staying longer means losing everyone in feudal gesture. Mathematics of survival demand brutal choices. Green is overrun, still firing as infected tear him apart. His weapon continues chattering until ammunition runs empty, then falls silent as creatures overwhelm his position. Several civilians who couldn't reach vehicles in time scatter across parking area, hunted down by creatures streaming from every direction. Their screams fade behind us as trucks accelerate away from Pentagon. Through bullets, shattered rear windows, we watch final survivors being overwhelmed by endless waves of infected pouring from building entrances. "Herring, we're pulling out," I radio desperately. "Copy that." Remaining support. T-teams falling back. This operation is turning into slaughter. Extraction vehicles pull away from Pentagon as infected fill parking area. Through rear windows we watch survivors we couldn't save being overwhelmed by endless waves of creatures. I count heads in both trucks. 24 people total, including Fox with nuclear codes. We lost 41 souls getting those codes out. Base command. "This is Sands," I radio with hollow voice. Extraction complete. 24 personnel recovered. Silence on radio, then confirm numbers. Sands 24 out of 65 confirmed. Heavy casualties during extraction. Mission accomplished but at devastating cost. 2 hours later, we reach Fort Bragg perimeter. Fox personally delivers nuclear codes to Colonel Malkovich while medics treat shell-shock survivors. "The codes, General?" Malkovich asks immediately. "Secured," Fox replies, his voice flat. "But we lost 41 people getting them out. 4 of Captain Sands' operators, 4 of Lieutenant Herring's support team." Malkovich nods grimly. "Acceptable losses for strategic materials of this importance. But nothing about this feels acceptable. I lost Green and Burgess soldiers who followed my orders into hell. Herring lost 1/3 of his support team. 65 people went into that building, 24 came out. That evening, Fox addresses surviving personnel into debriefing room. What we accomplished today cost more than anyone wanted to pay. Nuclear codes are secured, but price was higher than anticipated. He looks around at faces of survivors, soldiers and civilians marked by trauma of watching comrades die. These authorization sequences give us power to establish nuclear-protected safe zones could save millions of civilian lives. But today showed us what this war really costs. "Sir," I ask, struggling with grief and guilt. "Was it worth it? 41 dead for authorization codes." Fox meets my gaze with eyes that have seen too much death. "I don't know." "Ow, Captain. Ask me when we use those codes to save 100,000 civilians. Ask me if those people would trade their lives for the 41 we lost today. The mathematics of survival is meaningless when you remember individual faces of people who trusted you to bring them home." Outside Fort Bragg walls, infected, wander through darkness. Inside perimeter, 24 traumatized survivors try to process what they've witnessed. Nuclear authorization codes secured for future operations. General Fox alive to lead next phase, but mission revealed brutal truth about war against infected. Even successful operations cost more than we can afford to lose. Herring's remaining support team members show thousand-eye stare of soldiers who've seen operation turn into massacre. My surviving insertion team members avoid eye contact, processing loss of Green and Burgess. The war continues, but today taught us something horrifying. Winning against infected requires sacrificing everything that makes victory worthwhile. Mission accomplished, strategic objectives achieved. But success feels like defeat when measured in human cost. In war against extinction, even successful operations leave wounds that never heal. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this story today. Hoping to see you all again very soon. Till then, sweet dreams.